Inside this village pub in Tollerton, north of York, all the talk is about a story with a remarkable ending. The two Yorkshiremen sitting across the bar are world beaters. In 1987, Steve Webster, who's 28, and his companion Tony Hewitt, 10 years his senior, were world champion sidecar driver and passenger. In a sport dominated by well-financed professional continental teams, the Yorkshire pair are close to taking the World Championship for a second year running, a feat not achieved by a British motorbiker since Barry Sheen's heyday in the 1970s. This is going to be a battle against all the odds.
I'm the driver. It's my job to get us off the line first, to the corner first, apply the throttle, stomp on the brakes, make sure we're pointing in the right direction.
I'm the passenger. It's my job to balance the machine, keep it as stable as possible, and enable Steve to get the power down to the road.
Back in 1983, Webster and Hewitt partnered one championship, finishing in 16th place. In the following years, they raced their way up the field to challenge the European teams who dominated the sport. Back at home, the pair took the British Championship in 3 successive seasons. Then last year came the victory they'd longed for. The two Yorkshiremen had taken on the world and won.
Sur le circuit d'Assen en Hollande sous la pluie, ils avaient été victimes d'une terrible chute. Ils s'en sont bien remis. Ils sont champions du monde cette année.
Sidecar Road Racing World Champions, driver Steve Webster, passenger Tony Hewitt. French. We have a sort of nickname for the passenger. We call him the monkey. You are a super monkey and the world champion of monkeys and drivers.
Away from the bustle of the racetrack, months of carefully planned work are needed to launch a successful World Championship bid. As dawn breaks in a small village outside York, Steve Webster and his father, Mick, the team mechanic, are already at work. Although they're world champions, there isn't much money to be made in sidecar racing.
The sidecars are the Cinderellas of motorsport. If Steve, in his present position as world champion, was a solo driver, a works solo driver, then he would probably be a millionaire in a couple of years. Whereas now he finds it difficult to make ends meet, really.
Is this swapped?
Is it?
Yeah.
Or he can't pay me a proper wage, he can't pay Tony a proper wage. Everything has to be done on a shoestring.
I think really I've always been, as long as I can remember, been involved with bikes and racing bikes because you know, when my father used to actually do it himself, and from the age of 5, something like that, I can remember, you know, racing around on a small bike at a meeting that my father was racing at.
As soon as I'd built the first outfit for Steve, I realised his potential immediately, that he was just a natural sidecar driver, and that I knew he was going to do well straight away. I was sure that he was going to go places.
The only passenger I'd had was my brother, and he'd been with me for a year, and then he fell out and had a bad break in his leg. It was decided that we should get somebody else to stand in, and a few phone calls, and Tony's name came up, and he's been sort of standing ever since.
30-odd miles away in Doncaster, the third member of the team, passenger Tony Hewitt, is also at work. He can't afford to give up his full-time job with British Rail. Instead, he must use every spare moment to pursue his racing career.
I'm a civil engineer for the railways, do quite a lot of surveying, drawing office work. We're working on the railway. I've got a boss who understands my problems. It gave me the time off last year and this year. There's just not enough time, not enough hours in a day to do everything that I need to do. So I'm really struggling on at work and working at double pace to get the same work done.
I try and be supportive. I suppose sometimes maybe not as good as I think I could be, but it is quite hard. And I'm having a full-time job, coming home and having it to here with the work, workload.
It's very important to have this understanding from the women to be patient with us. When we're at a race meeting, there's enough pressures, of their own without having to worry about your wife and daughter.
It's a different life to what anybody else lives. It's not a 9-to-5 job and then on a weekend we're at home and we have a holiday, every year and everything. But I think that's quite exciting, really, because it's not a humdrum sort of life. It's definitely not boring.
Yep. It's because it's pressures, admittedly, with having to hold a full-time job working for the railways. But the advantages of racing, the thrill of it, the enjoyment of it, just outweighs the pressures. I think that everybody else will tell you the same. Once you've done it once, the bug bites you, and it's just a fantastic feeling. You just can't help but carry on.
It's like a drug, you get addicted to it, and if I was to give it up now, I just don't know what I'd do to fill my time in, and on the weekend I'd be sort of kicking around the house. I'm sure Karen would get a bit cheesed off with myself hanging around all the time.
It's always going to be bikes, always. Until the day he retires, bikes is going to be Steve's life. And I've always known that, and so I just accept it.
Each summer, the Webster and Hewitt team travel thousands of miles from their base in Yorkshire to race meetings both in this country and on the continent. But there are no glamorous stopovers. The living space for the driver, passenger and mechanic is a converted van.
Second turn off, innit?
Our racing season starts in April on the continent, and we can maybe travel to about 9 different countries to 9 Grand Prix. But it's hard work because it's not just a case of us flying out there and jumping on a bike and riding it. We actually have to drive the vehicle there and everything, so the glamour side of it is it's not what everybody makes out. It's hard work.
Well, on the circuit, I'm chief cook and bottle washer. It's a dog's life here, tidying up and washing. It's like being at home, really, but a smaller confined space to work in, cooking, cups of tea, endless work. No rest for the wicked, I think.
All the work, we must do it all ourselves. The cooking and cleaning, that sort of thing, looking after us all the time, is all done by the family, the wives, girlfriends, even the mechanicking is done by Stephen's father.
Although Steve and Tony are world champions, they haven't been able to secure the kind of big money sponsorship deals which finance the other European teams. In this country, sidecar racing has never attracted much attention. Instead, it's the solo riders who make the money.
The reason they're where they are now is because they're very talented. They were willing to work very, very hard, which they had to do, and to go out and hustle and get some sponsorship. And they deserve everything they get. I just feel a little bit, I was saying to Steve earlier on, I feel a little bit angry that we've got no one in the solo classes, British-wise, that's winning Grand Prix or up there, as in with a dog's chance, really. And Steve and Tony are doing so well, and I don't feel it's either the motorcycle press or the media as a whole give them a fair crack at the whip.
Webster's main rival on the Grand Prix circuit is the Swiss sidecar driver Rolf Billand. He's taken the World Championship 4 times, but unlike the Yorkshire pair, he has a manager, a team of professional mechanics, and a large budget.
You need money with the sidecar sport. You know, it's very expensive, and I can tell you that you need $500,000 Swiss francs to make a good season. So if you don't have that, you lose something. You don't have the right tires, you don't have the good mechanics or the good parts. So the whole package together, it helps to win.
Ilan's annual budget runs to almost £200,000. In sharp contrast, world champions Webster and Hewitt must run their small racing team on £70,000 a year. But it's not just a question of money. The sidecar driver and his passenger must develop a close partnership, which allows them to place their trust in one another when they're out on the racetrack.
Steve and Tony have 2 great qualities. One, the fact that they ride together superb as a team, and secondly, the fact that they've got that fire in the belly to win. There's no use having the ability to win and the right equipment if you haven't got that gut-down feeling that makes you want to push and push to be the best in the world.
You've got to have 100% belief in your own ability, and you must be confident in yourself, otherwise you're wasting your time. If you're not confident in your own ability, then you shouldn't be doing the job.
90% of racing is believing in yourself and knowing that you can do it. And that competitive side of it all is, you just have to, for a small amount of time during the race, you just have to maybe dislike your opposition to the extent where you're going to beat at whatever cost.
Well, Steve is now convinced that he's a winner. I'm now convinced that I'm a winner. And together that confidence has produced a winner.